I have the pleasure of welcoming today Claudia Selli, who is Vice President for International, External and Regulatory Affairs of AT&T. Thank you, Claudia, for joining us. The topic we chose for our interview is a Europe fit for the digital age, reflection and future directions. And of course, the essential precondition for having a Europe that is fit for the digital age is to complete and to deepen the digital single market. Of course, this is a vast field, but as an expert and as a stakeholder in this field, what do you think are the main priorities to complete the digital single market?
Thank you, Sara. It's a great question, and I think Europe has been taking many steps in recent years to, advance the digital landscape. But in order to build on this momentum and deepen the digital single market, as well as enabling the digital transformation, Europe should be supporting policies that really advance growth, attract investment into the digital infrastructure, and can support innovation. Now, I think governments should be working together to adopt the policy of the future and, that are basically globally interoperable, that are transparent, and that also can really spur investment into the development and deployment of 5G, of broadband, and all of the services that are going to be created also on top of that. Because when you have investment, in fact, you can create jobs, you can support innovation, and you can really also strengthen the economic capacity of a country. Additionally, I think stakeholder engagement is really an incentive, because stakeholders can feel part of the decisions that are being taken and that are going to impact them. And so this stakeholder engagement should be thought as having on the one hand regulators and policymakers working together with industry leaders and other parts of the ecosystem to be aligned on shared goals. And so as we try to advance Europe digital landscape, I really think that Europe should prioritize policy frameworks also at national level, at local level, that are interoperable and that can allow cross-border data flow, because this is really the precondition, I would say, for the digital economy to function and for our industry to work well. On the other hand, as I have been saying, this policy framework should equally be future-proofed, risk-based, and at the same time certainly try to support the management of harmonization of spectrum management, for example, that is really essential for 5G. And so focusing on those two areas, I think, will really help Europe to advance and keep pace with other geographies that are investing in the digital infrastructure and that are investing on digital services.
So you mentioned the spectrum management. The narrative in Europe is often that we have to catch up with the US on everything that is digital. But actually, it's them who are pretty out of sync when it comes to allocating licensed spectrum for 5G. How come?
Well, first of all, this is a very great question, and I have to say that to advance the 5G, you really need to adopt smart policy frameworks and create a competitive ecosystem. This is really the precondition for futuristic application, for 5G deployment, and for advancing also on the 6G front. But in recent years in the US, we have really been lacking the creation of a spectrum licensed mid-band spectrum pipeline that is important for those applications and that is important for the services of the future. And so, in fact, when you think about that, the Spectrum Authority in the US not only has lapsed, but has been lagging behind in identifying and allocating the spectrum bands that are critical for those services. In fact, the demand for spectrum is growing even more because consumers, as you may imagine, they really consume around embracing the data-hungry application and all the virtual reality. And in fact, the future of the network is the backbone of everything, from delivering the 5G or in broadband into rural areas, to driverless cars, and to remote surgery that is really going to grow during these years. And so if the US should really be thinking thinking about allocating the licensed mid-band spectrum, which is necessary for all of that. Otherwise, I really fear that innovation will be lagging behind and will stall. And as the US is somehow hesitating, these futuristic applications are going to be created in other regions that are thinking about allocating or have already allocated the double of the spectrum that the US has. Think about China, for example. This is really the case, and so I think this is really important. And in order for also spectrum to be the enabler of an economy, you really need to have, also to solve certain problems, such as, for example, the gathering and sharing of knowledge, inadequate adherence processes, or the lack of technical analysis, for example. And so I really would urge us all together to advance in that respect in the US, because this is going to be the future for all of these services that are needed by the society.
Okay, so we mentioned Europe, we mentioned the US, but in this, as in many other fields, we are stronger together. So how do you see the digital transatlantic partnership moving forward?
As you're saying in your question, I really think as well that we are stronger together, and that technologies has no limits and has no borders. So it's really essential that Europe and the US work together going forward. In fact, the technological innovation is only going to advance and progress, and so we're going to see the landscape in Europe as well as in the US transforming and really advancing on the front of AI, on the front of new technologies that are going to be shaping the future. And so on this respect, we may also be seeing some threats coming from bad actors, and having all of that in mind, I think we really need to take some action. On the one hand, working together to create, the rule for the future, but also at the same time, I think, looking at the specificities. From the one hand, we have the US, where it's really essential that Congress reauthorize the Federal Communication Commission to really unleash the spectrum that is needed in the licensed mid-band for those applications to flourish. And on the other hand, when you look at Europe, Europe has been adopting a lot of regulatory framework that are going to set an example for the other jurisdiction to follow. We all know about the Brussels effect, right? And so we really need to think, when you adopt those policy frameworks, these ideally should be globally interoperable with other rules, and that they should be future-proof, risk-based, and transparent, and really allow as well, for the spectrum to be harmonized and to support innovation and growth. And so while we try to work together, I think these two areas are really important to continue and progress in this respect to advance the future of the digital landscape.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for joining us. Thank you for this precious insight on a very crucial topic for the future.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching, and stay tuned and keep following us on all our social media platforms for more interviews and more content.